Hello, hello, hello. In this video today, we are going through your Trust Your Vibes deck by Sonia Choquette. Now, I first know Sonia from her meditations and I found them really good, but I actually bought an app with her meditations. And then when, this was back in the day when iPhones, I think first got updated, the app then didn't update. So it was an app that I could never utilize again. So I really miss her meditations, which was so good. So this deck is, it says on the reverse of the box, it is a Hay House box, standard box with Hay House. The back of the deck is USA $15.95. Obviously that would have and might have changed today. Canadian $18.95. Trust your vibes. Take the guesswork out of your decisions and use your sixth sense instead. This powerful card deck by vibrational healer and revolutionary teacher Sonia Choquette, the author of Diary of a Psychic and Trust Your Vibes. That's her, that's her thing, vibes. Is designed to activate your psychic voice and show you how to live the 6th century life. Each of the 52 cards in this deck is a creative tool for using your psychic muscles. These cards will give you access to your divine support system and deepen your connection to God, your higher self, and spirit helpers from the other side. Use the card deck and the accompanying guidebook daily and you'll learn to trust your vibes and experience the ease and flow of 6th sensory. I'll put the link if this is still available to purchase in below. But what I want to say about this deck is, for me, it's sort of the deck that I don't know whether you'd use it for yourself or use it for others more. So I'd be really interested to know if you have this deck, how to utilize it, because I personally, I would use it for others more at the end of a reading or at the beginning of the reading, just to bring the reading to a close because of the messages of it. So I'll go through the guidebook, I'll go through the cards, and I would really be interested to see how would you utilize this book, and am I missing out on something that I don't see? So you've got the book here. It has the picture of the card. It has, woohoo, it's wonderful, the general meaning of the card, and it does spend about a page and a half in full on the cards. There is no other, there's nothing else in this booklet. Normally you have how to consecrate the cards, how to use the cards, how to shuffle the cards. You've just got basically the index and the general. You don't have any sample readings, you don't have any spreads. So that's basically the guidebook. Now, let's see, I think this was done in 2014, maybe, let's have a look. 2004, so it's quite an early deck. But it has stood the test of time because, you can buy some decks back then and you go, oh gosh, the artwork. But I think because this artwork is so different that you sort of still can sit with it. So this is the card itself, I don't think you really get sick of this artwork because it's not the type of artwork that you're going to sit there and go, ooh, look at that, it's just one that you sort of see and move on. The card stock itself, does bend into place. And as I said, this is not as if you're going to be using this daily. Like we've done the Past Alive deck and readings, and this is very similar. I feel like it's helpful to illuminate perhaps issues or situations that you're going through. But I don't think it's going to give you some changing huge guidance. Well, that's my opinion. So I'd really love to know if I'm missing the point of this deck. So they're not in order. They have numbers down the bottom. So as you can see, it is very graphic, like I'm not going to say childlike. I don't know, what would you call this artistry? So, that's it. So this is it, name your higher self. So that's really to help you connect with your intuition. If you give your higher self a name, that means you're sort of calling in on it. Decide, so that's the decisions there. So you can see the artistry is very similar on each card. Body talk, that's really about tuning into how you feel. Be grateful, raising your vibe. And as I said, that is her thing. That is her stick about raising vibe. Accept the gifts of the universe. Pray. That's actually quite cool, that one. Get a new story, feel like I need one. Clear the path. Look at the little broom here. It's not personal. I take a lot of things personal, I've noticed lately. Is anyone else the same as empaths? Do we do this? I don't know. I feel like I'm so overly sensitive at the moment. Clear the past. Vibe check. Check in on your vibes. So she's, as I said, she's all about the vibes. Get grounded. We'll pull a card at the end. I'll go through the book. Sleep on it. Fake it till you make it. That's a really good one, actually. That's a really good one. That's talking about, faking that you are psychic, or, you know, because it's sort of like making you not think about the negative in your mind. Meditate, sound check, play, seek solitude, ask your spirit helpers, back to basics. So this is a bit like an affirmation deck before affirmation decks, but they're not affirmations. They're pretty much about how you're thinking, responding, and what you're doing. Remember to breathe. What do you love? Instant feedback. Love this one. How do you feel about things? And people get it wrong. You're not always right, guys. Time for crayons. Learn. Laugh. Call on your angels. Call on your joy guides. Be flexible. Let go. One of the hardest lessons in life. Make a note of it. I think that relates to when you get downloads or when you get something. Make a note and just see how that's about your intuition opening. Talk shop. That's about talking to people about intuition and guides and whatnot. Expect the best. Mentors and role models. Stay in your own skin. Downtime. Cloak yourself in light. Now this is very interesting. Years ago we went and saw a big psychic. Oh gosh, I can't think of her name. She was on a big TV show in America. Can't think of it. Anyway, she came to the Small Spiritualist Church and I was sitting next to my girlfriend and I said, gosh, I love being with you. I feel like we've got this big, and I could feel it. I feel like we could get this big white light, big white bubble. She says, Di, I white lighted us. And I went, wow, that is so interesting. But that was at a time when I was meditating, so I was probably a bit more sensitive. Exercise your vibes. Call on your runners. We all need runners. It's a team effort. Seems to be a lot of cards. Be generous. Take your time. Call on your healer guides. Good reminder. Feed your spirit. So it's a bit like coaching, really, this deck. You know, it's a bit like coaching about how to build your intuition, how to get rid of the cobwebs, aura cleanse, listen to your heart, claim your boundaries, share a breath. So let's shuffle the deck. I'll pull 3 cards. You can either choose 1, 2, or 3, or the 3 might relate to you. Hey, vibe angels, what do we need to know today? So I'll shuffle 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. So there we go. I've just learned something recently watching a lot of videos, that they have told me that you should use this one at the bottom, stay in your own skin, and that could be something that you're missing in your reading, or that could be the vibe of the reading. So we'll put that to the side and see where that fits. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3. So if I will read directly from the booklet, so let's put him up there. Move on over. So if you pick number 1, it's a team effort. Put this over here. It's a team effort. Number 37. It's time to connect with your tribe to help you gain more confidence in trusting your vibes. The best way to send out a vibe of your own and ask your guides to call other sixth-sensory spirits into your life. You're not all by yourself. There are many soulmates wanting to connect with you. You just have to send up smoke signals so they can find you. The way to do this is to come out of the closet, excited about your new psychic muscles and celebrating your vibes. If you do, support will show up in the most unexpected places. It's a modern way to live. Guide your psychic playmates to you by opening the door and letting your light shine. Ask those friends, family members, or co-workers whom you enjoy if they feel intuitive. Go where sensitive, sixth-sensory people gather. Lectures, book signings, and workshops, and introduce yourself. Pray for support to show up. Ask God to connect you with new playmates. This week, look for team members and make a date to check in with one another and compare vibes on various subjects. Play I Wonder If, just for the fun of it, stretching your psychic muscles daily. If you're having trouble finding your intuitives, log on to soniachoquette.com. You know, this is quite interesting because this is popping up to me now. Now, I've opened up this channel because I wanted to really get rid of my decks, but the more I'm looking at them, the more that I'm using them, the more that I want to keep them, and the more that I want to collect more. So I'm sort of in, and then I would really love to have just one deck So I'm sort of in, oh, do I let go? Do I not let go? So I'm sort of in two minds. But so I hopped on here and I've been talking to people and interested, and I haven't really dug deep into tarot. I've had to use the guidebook. I read intuitively, and I found a group on here and I started talking to them, and then I just realized that I woke up, and then all of a sudden, a few numbers had dwindled down on my following list. So either I've said something or something was, I don't know what I've said. Because I'm not really that judging or whatever. I quite liked what content they were giving out. It was quite grounded. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't like, we know so much, this is how you should do things. And I'm sort of like, so it's funny. Sometimes you can want to call in people, but sometimes your vibe may not match their vibe, or maybe you're too much. So I learned a big lesson about this, and that was really to step back a bit. So anyway, it is what it is. I don't take it personal. Not as if I'm going to sleep with the people. All right, so then we have, if you've chosen number 3, has anyone else felt like that, like on social media, that you sort of want to know more, but then they've got their own little clique? That's how I felt. Anyway, it is what it is. All right, downtime, card number 2. To tune into your intuitive and psychic vibes, it is essential to step away from the hustle and bustle of the world from time to time. As a sixth sensory person, start appreciating the importance of refreshing your body, mind and spirit by scheduling downtime to do nothing but relax, hang out and simply allow the world to go by. It affords you this inner space you need to refuel your psychic energies and gain access to the higher and more subtle vibrations that you may have bypassed by living in such a fast-paced, intense world. Your ego generally doesn't approve of downtime because it's asked to give up control, which it doesn't want to do. Rather, it wants you to run your life through fear and anxiety, keeping things in your head and under control. The hallmark of 5th century unhappy living, downtime liberates you from this fear-based treadmill and reconnects you to the pace and peace of universal flow. As my personal spiritual teacher once told me, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Now is one of those times. Now that's quite interesting, because I've just spoken about connecting to people, but it's sort of telling me to, connecting to myself more. So we'll see. And then we have this one, which we wanted to read. I'm sure you all want to know about this deck. I'll put the back of the decks there. So they're quite vibrant, the messages, but as I said, now that I'm reading this little reading, it sort of makes sense. But do you go deep on these cards? I don't think so. But do they lift you up? Do they give you an insight into perhaps a lesson that you could do to help raise your vibe or change your vibe? Absolutely. Cloak yourself in the light. And also too, I just want to remind you guys, if you're buying any decks such as this, be careful, because they are copycats that sell fake and fraudulent decks. Always make sure that they have a guidebook, and make sure that they comes from a reputable seller. That's all I've got to say. All right. Sadly, the world is filled with such dark, negative energy floating free in the atmosphere. Thankfully, most of this is impersonal, but nonetheless can be harmful to your spirit if you let it. You're presently exposed to such generic negative energies, possibly due to overwork, traveling too much, or simply being around too many people with inadequate time to regenerate. No matter the source of negativity, it's important to rise above it. Use your imagination and cloak yourself in protective vibrations of white light and self-love every time you leave the house. Do this as a matter of course, just as you'd put on shoes to protect your feet before stepping outside. Cloaking yourself in light deflects negative influences and prevents them from attaching to you and disturbing your peace. Don't be naive by denying the kind of energy you might be exposed to. Negativity happens. It's part of human nature in the 5th century world as a reflection of fear. So there's no point in being offended or afraid when you encounter it. Be proactive instead, traveling your cloak of light wherever you go. Do you know what? I feel like this is really speaking to me now. Connecting, take a step back, and just protect yourself from negativity. And I'm not saying anyone's negative. It's just sometimes what we could be giving off could be really like an itchy jumper to somebody. And it's sort of, we've got to take those, I guess, those cues, to know that we're either too much or we're overly involving ourselves in situations. So that was an interesting little reading. And then here, the last one, that was on the bottom of the deck. So I've just learned that this week, that this can be part of the reading, or it can be a message that we're unaware of. So has anyone ever heard about this, reading the bottom of the card of the deck? I only learned this week. As a 6th century person, you have a tendency to become overly empathetic at times. You not only sense others' vibrations, Oops, I think that's what's happened here. But you also absorb and internalize them as your own. This is not only physically unhealthy, but it can make you physically sick if you do it often enough. The cure is to mentally and emotionally stay in your own skin and don't operate like a psychic sponge absorbing the energy around you. It's okay to support others, but don't try to rescue them. It interrupts their goal and harms you as well. Stay in your skin by slowly breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth while focusing on your body. The more you breathe, the more you keep to your own spirit and allow others the dignity of managing their own affairs. Another key to disengaging is to see and name the physical objects around you. This 2-minute psychic energy adjustment resets your balance. It's nice to care, but don't carry. I love that. See, little lessons in here. So if it's your type of deck, you'll like it. But as I said, it's not the type of deck that you would use all the time. It's sort of a type of deck that I think that you'd buy, utilize it, put it away, you know, work on live such as that, and then come back to the deck again when you need it. So it's not a deck, I think, that's going to sit with you day in, day out. So anyway, until next time, thank you for liking and subscribing and joining in this review.